I'm Jack, and welcome back, because today I'm going to give you guys a review for a newly released movie that I was so excited to see, that is directed by one of my favorite directors of all time, The Fabelmans. It is directed by Steven Spielberg, and it stars Gabriel LaBelle, Michelle Williams, Paul Dano, Seth Rogen, Julia Butters, and many more. And with that said, let's get started. The Fabelmans follows young Sammy Fabelman as he develops a love and passion for movies after his parents take him to go see the greatest show on earth. Armed with a camera, Sammy starts to make his own movies with his own resources, much to the delight of his supportive mother. And when he discovers of a world-shattering family secret, Sammy must learn to cope with this through the power of movies. Before I talk about what I like about this movie, I just want to talk about this for a moment. This movie will be the movie that's going to inspire filmmakers to go out and make movies. And this movie really impacted me when I watched it, and it never left my mind afterwards. This is the right movie at the right time, where as me right now, I've loved movies for a majority of my life, ever since I saw The Avengers, because I love the superhero genre and superhero in the comic book world as a whole. So seeing that on the big screen, absolutely incredible. And there's so many movies afterwards that I love, and just shows how powerful the art of cinema can really be. And Steven Spielberg proves once again why he is one of the greats and one of the best to ever do it, because he is one of my favorite directors of all time and one of the most iconic and influential to ever live, and for very good reason. And watching a lot of these movies over the past couple of years just shows how much I love movies, and I continue to love them as I get older. And my love of movies even had me start this YouTube channel that you all are viewing, because I love movies and I want to talk about them with you guys. And this movie really does a good job at showing just what that would be like, making movies, how it affects everybody you care about, and how you must always follow your dreams and never give it up. And it's such a beautiful and inspiring tale that really inspired me to continue my passion of movies, continue running this channel, and maybe do something with it in the future. That would be really awesome. And this movie is just the right movie I needed to see, and I loved it and adored it so much that it is one of my all-time favorite movies of the year without hesitation. Kicking off the positives, the performances are magnificent. Gabriel LaBelle is phenomenal as Sammy Fabelman. I loved his performance, seeing his years from teenager all the way to where we end off this movie. He is phenomenal. This is his first lead role, I presume, and he crushed it. He was the perfect choice to play Sammy Fabelman, and I was able to connect with him, feel for him, sympathize for him with all these things that's happening in his life. And this movie does such a good job at making you care for him. And knowing that this movie is basically about young Spielberg as he develops his passion of movies makes it all the more incredible. And Michelle Williams and Paul Dano, marvelous. I can see that Michelle Williams will no doubt get a Best Actress nomination for this movie. She is incredible. She knocked it out of the park. I felt so many emotions out of her character and her scenes with Sammy. It's just so touching, beautiful, inspiring. It's just such a beautiful performance here. And Paul Dano, coming off of the Batman earlier this year as the Riddler, he plays Sammy's father, and he is also amazing in this movie. And watching them in this movie, I never watched this and thought, oh, that's just Paul Dano or Michelle Williams or Seth Rogen. They actually disappeared into their roles. I truly was watching this as if that is Sammy's parents, and I loved what they do with them in this movie. It really focuses a lot on Sammy's relationship with his parents, especially with him developing his love of movies and him making them. And I love how they depict it, where you see the ups of making movies, but also you see how it affects his life dramatically, where when you have a passion for something, it's more than just doing it as a hobby or doing it as a job. It's your whole life. And how the movie depicts it is powerful. And I really got that a lot out of all these performances here. And Seth Rogen, who's great in comedy, we all know him as being one of the funniest comedians out there. He is so excellent in this movie. He really shows that he has a lot of dramatic chops to play a lot more dramatic characters and continues the streak that sometimes some of the best dramatic actors are those who do comedy. And I was blown away. Julia Butters from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and The Gray Man earlier this year plays Sammy's sister, and she is also incredible. I see bright futures for Julia Butters and Gabriel LaBelle for the future because both of them were phenomenal here. And I hope they get recognition because they were incredible, and I could not have imagined anybody else playing these characters. And so is the little cameos we get from Judd Hirsch and David Lynch, where I won't spoil when they show up or what they do, but I loved their utilization in this movie. It's absolutely incredible. The whole cast knocks it out of the park. It's so marvelously directed by Steven Spielberg, and this is another movie of his that's both written and directed by him. And so as him being able to co-write this movie alongside Tony Kushner, who worked with him on West Side Story, which I also loved and was one of my favorite movies of last year. And they both crafted an excellent screenplay where it's well written, it's believable, I can connect with these characters, and I really felt like I can relate to Sammy Fabelman in so many ways with his passion of making movies and how he acts around everybody. It's just so believable. And it felt like I wasn't even watching a movie. It felt like I was actually watching something unfold in front of my eyes. And it felt like I was there in the experience. And that is powerful when you're watching a movie and it feels like you're watching something real and you're not feeling like you're watching something that's just on a screen. And that is incredible. It's one of the best directed Spielberg movies of the past couple of years. It's extremely well written, one of the best directed and best written movies of the year so far for me. And John Williams once again returns to compose the score of this movie, and John Williams shows without a doubt why he is one of the best to ever do it for composing scores. The last score he did was Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, which is a fantastic score in a okay movie. This is an amazing score. It's memorable, it's beautiful, it fits the theme and the score and what's happening in this movie very well, and shows why John Williams is one of the greats, and I love it when he collaborates with Steven Spielberg. He has another phenomenal score that I hope gets a nomination. Janusz Kaminski is the cinematographer of The Fabelmans, and this is a beautiful looking movie. Once again, it is another beautiful looking movie to look at. I love the lighting and how it's framed and staged to where it's clear to tell who's the subject and center of the scene, and how it's placed to where you can identify what's going on in the scene. And I love it. It is such a beautifully shot movie, and it's just one of Spielberg's best looking movies. And I think he also did the cinematography of West Side Story, which is also incredible. And so I'm happy they reunited here because this is another terrific collaboration between those two. And there is a lot of beautiful shots in this movie that are some of my favorites of the year, especially the shot at the very end of this movie. It's just something to behold. It's spectacular. It's a very well-directed, well-written, and a well-shot movie with beautiful performances and an amazing score. And I love this movie. There's so much heart and passion into this movie, where this is the movie that's going to inspire people to go make movies. And this movie is definitely going to be a very important one for a lot of these people moving forward into the future, because there's so much heart in display, where Spielberg, this is a very personal movie for him. And it really shows because this is a semi-autobiography of his life. And doing some research, this is a very accurate depiction of his life. This movie is such a passionate story for Spielberg, and I really felt it so much that he really wanted to make this movie for such a long time, and to now have a movie from one of the greatest directors to ever live actually make a movie about how he got into movies and how he ended up getting his reputation and the first gig he got. Mesmerizing. It's incredible how this movie depicts it. I felt so much passion. It's one of the most heartfelt, sincere movies I've seen all year, and it's absolutely beautiful. And the movie is 2 hours and 30-ish minutes long, but I was never bored or taken out of the experience. I was invested the entire way through, thoroughly engaged from start to finish here, where the pacing of the movie is so smooth, and the movie gets better and better and better the more it goes along. And I love how we see Sammy Fabelman grow from being this little kid to getting where he is by the end of this movie. It's such a satisfying journey that I could relate to in many ways, and more so than one. And I just think the movie is very well depicted on that front of just exploring his life in a fictional way too. Even though the character's name is Sammy Fabelman and not Steven Spielberg, you still get the idea. And if you're coming into the Fabelmans already knowing that this movie's about Steven Spielberg's adolescent years as he becomes a filmmaker with a passion for it, this movie is even better because of it. Not only can this movie be so inspiring, uplifting, and joyful at points, but it can also be so heartbreaking, devastating, and emotional. There are points in this movie that had me in tears and so upset at how things are playing out and how it affects Sammy and everybody around him. And it made me so emotional at points without it feeling out of left field. And it felt very natural and believable with how things play out. Like I mentioned earlier, this movie heavily focuses on Sammy's relationship with his parents and his family and how that affects him and his love of filmmaking and his peers all around him. It depicts that very well to where making movies isn't just something that's exciting and fun, because it's also full of hardships and struggles to where it's like sometimes you got to do this for people you care about, and it's not all about you, and how it affects everybody is very realistic, and I totally can get behind how this movie depicts making movies, because making movies can be something so fun and passionate and exciting for you, but it can also be something very hard to make because they cost money, they take time, you gotta get the people and the sets ready, but also when you show it to people, how does it affect them? Because making movies is more than just showing things on display, it's also telling a story, and this movie does that to where you see a lot of these movies within a movie. And I really like what they do with that here. It's another movie that Steven Spielberg shows so much heart and passion for this movie, as he's always done. But this movie has such a different vibe to it that I really appreciated watching the film. And I just really appreciated this movie so much. It's basically the La La Land for filmmakers, where La La Land was the movie to inspire aspiring actors to go be actors. This movie's going to inspire filmmakers to go out and be filmmakers. And I'm happy this movie exists because overall, The Fabelmans is a phenomenal film. I loved it in every sense of the way, from the amazing performances and the score, directing, writing, cinematography, and the heartfelt and beautiful story that is absolutely inspiring in many ways than one. I loved what Steven Spielberg was able to make with this movie. It's the right movie at the right time, and I hope you guys will go check it out in theaters because this is one of the best movies of the year. So in the end, I'm going to give The Fabelmans an A+. I see this movie getting a lot of award nominations over the coming months. It's probably going to be a movie that Steven Spielberg will probably get another directing nom for, or potentially win for the first time since Saving Private Ryan. And I hope so. This is one of the best directed movies of the year. It's one of the most beautiful I've seen all year. And this is one of those few movies this year to where I was so excited for them, but they surpassed every single expectation I've ever had for it prior to the experience. And I love Steven Spielberg so much. This movie continues to solidify that he is one of my favorite directors to ever live. And I hope that he looks back at this movie so fondly because it is so full of love and heart. And I adored what he was able to do with this movie so much that I hope to watch it again soon, because this movie really impacts me. As someone that loves movies, I'm so happy we got something as beautiful and as well crafted as this. And this is a movie that everybody needs to go see right now, because Spielberg still has that magic within him. He's still out there making great movies, but this is one of my favorite movies he's made in the past couple of years, and it is an absolute monumental achievement from him, and I hope you guys will check it out soon, because overall, I absolutely loved what he did with The Fabelmans. So yeah, that's my review for The Fabelmans. What are your thoughts on it? Let me know down below in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Stay tuned for some upcoming videos I have planned. I'm going to have a review for Andor Season 1 and Avatar The Way of Water coming soon, and some upcoming trailer reactions for movies we might be getting soon. So please go stay tuned for that. And don't forget to follow me on social media. My username is down below at the bottom of the screen and in the description below. So please go do that while you're at it. And thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button, and stay tuned for more And thank you, Steven Spielberg, for making this wonderful movie.